And welcome to another edition of the Nerdy Agent Podcast. I am Josh, taking over hosting duties from Luke, who is in New York right now, just hanging with his wife, having a good time. So we're excited for him to get to explore New York City a little bit he said he's been there once, I think, but not for actually a trip before. So hopefully he comes back with all sorts of good insights from that. Today, we're going to dive into this topic that no one's been talking about. It has not been a priority really anywhere, and so we're going to be the first. But this whole AI thing that's happening right now, I know about, a couple of years ago, we probably started this conversation when ChatGPT launched in November of 23. But a lot's changed since then, and so we thought we'd bring this back, talk a little bit about how real estate agents currently are using it or can be using it. And then just some thoughts on where it's going. I think it's something that creates both exciting opportunities, but also some fear. So it's probably important to touch base on some of that. So why don't we start, AJ? I mean, I'd give you the big arching question of like how you feel like it's being utilized since the initial launch of generative AI a couple of years ago. You know, how that's kind of changed how our field has been working thus far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of simple examples that, I've used with clients being, contracts, long legal documents, things like that.
Yep.
Of course, if someone wants a person to legally review something, you say, hey, you're going to need to talk to an attorney. But, you could tell ChatGPT literally to act like your attorney and review HOA documents, purchase agreements that you're unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. And it'll give you insights on what that contract says or what the rules and regulations are, if an HOA is even in a good financial standing, according to ChatGPT. I also recently used it. I've got a client specifically looking in a certain area, a certain price point, and they want mid-century modern. Well, if you go on MLS and search up mid-century modern, you're relying on the agent to actually put in that keyword in the public remarks or the agent remarks or what have you. But when you do it in ChatGPT, it'll actually snake through and look at all the photos and give you examples of mid-century modern homes that maybe do not have that in the description. And it curated a list for me in the area I was looking, within the price range we were looking, and made a PDF out of it with clickable links. And it's pretty nifty for that sort of thing. And those are just like some basic examples, right? I mean, obviously we can get into what we're using it for now, but ChatGPT is very, very good at a far more dynamic search experience than what Google has always been.
Right. And we've talked about this where it said, we've in the past used to tell our agents, like, your job as a bare minimum is to be better than Google, right? Because if you're going to be able to create an experience in which you're adding value, you have to be able to do more than the consumer can do on their own or the client can do on their own. So that was always like one of the taglines we used to use. We just talked recently about how we need to probably adapt that to be, you got to be better than AI. You got to be better than ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic's Claude or whatever you're using to kind of get after this stuff. A lot of these models are Grok. Because if someone can go on there and can do everything that you can already do for them, then you have to find a way to deliver value beyond that. And so that the goalpost a little bit has changed, and I don't want to get too far ahead to that, but I just want to make sure I made that point that it is something that as you are working as a real estate professional, to continue to be valuable, you have to adapt your skills in order to provide more than what the consumer can find on their own.
Well, and I think the tools that are in place right now are so good that the better is almost just being better at using it than the consumer is themselves, sure. Right? And so, I've dug into a lot of these different AI tools and models and things because it's definitely going to impact what we're doing and it's going to impact what everybody else is doing. And so if me, you, any other agent or leader in the industry is not focusing on this being a thing that they're going to be good at, or they're saying, it's fine, humans will never be replaced by computers or robots. Like, it's always going to need the human touch. And it's like, yeah, maybe you're right. But if I've got access to tools that are, I mean, 1 million times more powerful than Google's ever been, like I ought to probably be using those to my benefit, to my clients' benefit, to the clients of our entire team, our agents, the entire industry's benefit. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be the first ones to know how to use a lot of these different things.
Well, it goes back to the North Star we've always set in place, which has been the client has to be at the center of every experience. It's not about you as agent. It's not about your partners as lenders or whoever, right? It's not about trying to find a way for you to be okay. It's about how do we make sure we take care of clients. So if there's something out there that's better serving the client's needs through the process, ignoring that out of fear would be a silly thing to do. And so, I mean, we have to get philosophical on some of these tools. I was just listening to a podcast on the way in, an interview with the two guys, Jeff Dean and Noam Shazier, who run Google's AI lab. They're the head of all of it. And Jeff Dean's actually one of the most well-respected programmers in the field. He's actually a University of Minnesota grad.
Go first.
Yeah. But they spoke very eloquently about all the different things that are happening in this place and all of the exciting ways in which they can help transform people's lives in a positive way. I think a lot of people look at this as a fear-based thing because we don't know much about it. When you don't know much about things, you go to the worst-case scenario of like, it's going to replace me. It's going to make me lose my job. Everyone's going to stare at screens all day long. We're going to be in an artificial world and put on AI glasses and every super intelligence and all of these things that people go to from a fear standpoint. But they spoke very eloquently about all of the different problems it can solve and the things that it can open up to help support people, whether that's like self-driving cars not getting into accidents or whether that's improving the state of education or the state of healthcare so that humans can be more successful. And I think that goes back to kind of this conversation of how do we think about it the same way that they're kind of thinking about it, which is how do we make people's experience better by leveraging some of the tools that are now available to us that weren't available to us in the past. And so I know we're doing some things on the agent side to kind of do that for our agents. We probably won't chat much about that. But on the client side and the staff side, obviously when this all launched, like the first real application was, okay, we're getting generative text, right? So it's how do you write a listing description? How do you write a Facebook post? How do you write a mailer for your clients? Things like that. That's probably what phase one was.
Yeah, I mean, it was good at taking your words and then writing them like they were maybe somebody else or
tweaking them,
eloquently, or they fixing the like the apps like Grammarly that have been doing this kind of like algorithm-based correction system forever. Like, I wonder if that even there's so many small examples like that where you look at Grammarly and it's like, is anybody using that anymore? Like, probably not.
We had that for a while though.
We did, but now it's like, why would I use that? Just type in, fix the grammar of this thing, and it probably replaces whatever Grammarly was doing.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that was, I mean, in itself, like fairly revolutionary when I watched
Huge.
Them, like, hey, write me this listing description like I'm Joanna Gaines. And it like, we'll do it. And you're like, this is wild that it's able to snake through everything Joanna Gaines has ever said and then write something that would sound like she wrote it, just as a super small example. But
or even like give us podcast ideas, right? We've used that before. Give me ideas for shooting videos.
100%.
Yeah.
And then what's the fascinating and exciting but also scary part about it is that when you feed it, it then feeds the whole machine and it feeds everybody else's machine, and so it gets this feedback loop of this happened, now this happened, now this, and as it goes, it learns. That was not great because every time that I served it something like that, served the person who wanted something like this, they told me to tweak it a little bit. So now I'm going to stop doing that part and I'll just go to the tweaked part immediately. So the machine is learning all of that as it goes to the point where the answers are getting better and better and better. And we've talked about that with other applications we've used where it's like I started doing it and then 4 weeks later it was doing stuff that it couldn't do 4 weeks ago. Because I would prompt it for this, and it couldn't figure it out, and then I gave it a month, and then now it's figured it out. It's like, that's kind of freaky. I mean, usually corrections to technologies don't just happen like
that fast.
Because there's people that have to work on them. But now it's just a bunch of servers in a box room with an air conditioner, and they're just trying to keep it moving, and it's just learning, collecting, and spitting out new responses.
Yeah, it is very intriguing, and then you could go into whole reality on how fast the chips have to be and how much compute is needed to make it all happen and all that stuff. But that's the other component of this that will be interesting to see as that speeds up. Essentially, when the chips get faster and faster and faster, then the responses get better and better and better, and they can use more power to do this. So we will continue to see, I think, very fast growth in terms of the capability set, and that probably brings us into the future. I guess to put a bow on the present, in the last 2 years since this all started, it's all right. How do you think about the things? How do you think about anything that you're doing today that you feel like maybe you're inefficient at? It wouldn't be a bad idea to consider jumping into one of these models and seeing if it can help you with some things. Whether you're like, hey, I'm bad at making social media videos, get some ideas for social media videos from this. If you're bad at writing text, have it write some text for you. Bare bones type stuff. But even like some of the HOA doc stuff, things you're talking about there, any process that you feel like takes you time and you don't necessarily do very well, it'd be worth kind of leveraging some of this to make sure that you do a better job for your clients.
I mean, and you can give it a process, like it's crazy. We can give it a process that our team currently uses. I could say, here's the 90 tasks we use in the state of Minnesota to help a seller get from listing contract all the way through closing. Can you tell me what you think I'm missing? It'll give you 10 things that you're missing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super cool. And then you can basically have a brainstorming session with a computer and say, that doesn't really apply here. Termite inspection, right? Like we don't have those here. And it's like, oh, shoot, that's right. You're in Minnesota. And then it'll like re-spit out a new answer and have a better and better answer as you go. And that's just something super simple. Like you said, social media. It's like, hey, can you look at what the most viral videos have been when it comes to real estate in the past 30 days? Give me scripts for 5 different ones that I could shoot, make them sound unique and original to me, and look at this profile or bio of me and make the script, make sure that it makes sense with my life.
Yep.
Boom, 30 seconds. There's all the videos. I mean,
and you can
crazy.
You can even tell it, like, there's some people that tell it, like, I don't even want to know what I'm talking about. I just want to see a prompt right away. Yep. And then they just read the prompt. Like, it can get that simplistic. Now, you still want to have knowledge, so it's not like you want to replace yourself from a knowledge standpoint, but it's more of like an addition to what you already know.
And it can teach you. I mean, you could set it up. I've done this before where I could set it up on my computer while I shoot the video and say, listen to me shoot this video and tell me where you think I should have sounded differently than I sounded.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, oh, you didn't sound excited enough, or the inflection in your voice wasn't right when you said this part, or you did a question, but it didn't sound like you raised your voice enough at the end of that sentence to make it sound like a question. Like, it'll do all of that.
Yeah.
And it'll teach you. And it's like, to your point, when it becomes to being efficient, right? Like, I mean, when I first got on video like 8 years ago, when we had an intern shooting videos of me in my basement, it was super awkward. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd have to cut all the time. I wouldn't really know what to say. But over time, I got better and better. Well, if you're like brand new right now trying to get into video, it's like you could get good at videos in
fast.
2 weeks. It's like, just set it up and it'll be like, try again. You probably should have done this, this, and this. And then you're like, okay, but you have the embarrassment of another human being being there is not there either. And so if you're just like, it's a computer, like who cares? If I screw up, it'll tell me. Mm-hmm. You can really ramp up your activity on video, on writing emails, on writing descriptions, on all of that.
You could theoretically have it record a showing. You could just tell it to listen to your showing and tell me how I should have done that better, right? Like, there's all sorts of different things that you could think about. So if anyone was listening to this, I just hope at least it opens your mind a little bit to the possibilities of how you can leverage the solutions to be better at your job. That's what we're all about here. And so not trying to like share all of our secret sauce, but it's like, that's something that I feel like you could dive into in a more meaningful way to continue to improve the client experience across the board. Yeah. Into the future though, where do you see some of this going? Because obviously, as we talked about, as the chips get faster, they're investing a lot of money in the data centers and building better and better chips that are going to be able to handle more and more compute. And that's going to allow this stuff to continue to advance. The models will continue to grow and learn. All that will continue to happen. What do you think, what do you foresee kind of being some things that aren't happening today that we could maybe leverage?
I mean, we talked about this. You alluded to it a little bit, and I'm not going to get too into the weeds on it, but in every industry, there's applications that people are using to help them do their job.
Yep.
I talked to a guy that's in the title industry yesterday and explained to him what I was building with an AI coding platform. And he was like, oh my gosh, like this could probably do what this platform does for us. And I said, yeah, I mean, it would probably take a couple of weeks to build what you're describing. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is insane, And it's like, that exists across, I mean, you run all of our financials. It's like, how many recurring subscriptions do we have to platforms that were coded by human beings that now can be coded by a computer in a matter of a week or two that took 2 years to develop in the past?
Yep.
There's this massive replacement in the coding industry that is really fascinating. So watching that play out is going to be interesting, whether that's Some of these platforms really, diving into it and revolutionizing the way that they're creating their platforms and applications. Or if it's just individuals like ourselves that are like, hey, I'm going to create a custom application for our company that does this.
Yep.
It's like, well, that used to take, $1 million and 30 different engineers 6 months to create. And now, voila, you can have it in 3 weeks with one person.
And that person doesn't necessarily have to be proficient. I mean, like, it helps to be proficient in what these things do to be able to prompt them properly. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to be fully proficient even in coding languages.
And ChatGPT will fix the code for you if you prompt it and it doesn't do the thing you want. So it's like you can just make the two robots talk to each other. And my big thing was like, when does it stop, right? I mean, once it learns the way that I like things, hypothetically, I could write, there's settings on this platform I'm talking about where it's like, just make it autonomous. Leave your computer open. I have 3 paragraphs that I wrote about a thing I wanted to make. Let it run for 2 hours, come back, and see what it did. Because eventually, if I do enough of it and I prompt it enough, it's going to know exactly what my brain wants and when it wants it, because it'll just learn all about it. And then it's going to be able to create things completely unprompted, basically.
Which is just wild.
Yeah. So it'll be fascinating to understand that. And then once you create those applications and it learns how people are using them, then it probably eventually is going to give you recommendations of how it should start coding your platform in a different way.
Yep. Because
people are spending more time on this or less time on this, or you're getting feedback or, right? So people are bouncing off of certain pages. Maybe that needs to be adjusted. So it's over time, a lot of these websites, applications that are created by DIY consumers or big business, right? Like Zillow, this is big news, just partner with ChatGPT. So now on Zillow, as far as I understand it, and for sure on ChatGPT, you can look up like, I want this specific thing. I want a open kitchen, stainless steel appliances, enough room in the backyard to put in a pool in a neighborhood with more than 100 homes. Like you could put anything you want and it'll be like, oh, I found the one that you like. And like before, it's like Google couldn't figure that out. Like you'd type all that stuff in and Google would be like, here's a listing. Because it would try to find something.
Yep.
But it's not actually acting like a human being in its search. It's just acting like it knows information. Now, this is machine learning, so it's learning how much space would I need for a pool. Well, it has the history of information just across the entire internet. And so it's able to find those kinds of special searches. So like that's going to be fascinating to know. And I think a lot of these larger companies, specifically in our industry, are going to have to lean into that or they're going to get left behind.
100%. I think there's also a component of productivity that's going to exist, right? So it'd be remiss for us not to talk about what that means in terms of possibilities when it comes to calendar management, email management, just your life generally into the future state. I don't know how long it'll be before there's like a version of my voice that's stored. So when someone calls, they talk to my assistant who's also just learning my voice and talking like me. And so like those are some things where you go, that's kind of, it feels a little bit futuristic in a way that maybe we're comfortable with, maybe we're not comfortable with. But there are components like that where there's already solutions from an email standpoint where it's like reads all your emails and then you get an email and then you open it and it says, here's how you would normally respond to this. And you read it, you're like, that's pretty darn good. But so building out capabilities like that. But even just like we talk to our agents all the time about organizing your life and how you can ensure that you're able to successfully accomplish your goals, different things like that. I think productivity solutions are going to be a big piece of where this heads in the next few years. And probably the most natural kind of next wave, right, is just how do you simplify life from your own brain standpoint and allow something else to better support you in making sure that you're getting the things done that you need to get done or want to get done. So I think there's more to come there. I mean, I've got some bigger ideas that I've been kind of thinking about that I'd love to build out that I think would be really cool. And I'm sure a lot of other companies, big places are working on things like that. But yeah, I just say expand your. If I would leave you with anything on this podcast, if you're listening to it, is expand your mind to the possibilities of what's happening here. Don't think of it as this is something that's going to destroy humanity and therefore I can't be a part of it. I think there's a lot of things that can make your life better, and I think that it's kind of coming whether you want it to come or not. So you can kind of resist it, but the reality is these models are driving a lot of value for a lot of people. So they're going to continue to be in demand. They're going to continue to be desirable. And frankly, they're going to continue to be something that the consumer themselves are latching onto and learning from. And if agents don't latch onto them as well and are going to showings and the client knows more than the agent does, you're going to create a pattern of distrust with our profession in a way that's actually going to negatively kind of reflect people's ability to trust real estate agents to actually provide value. So I'd highly encourage folks listening that you're going to, and I would assume most folks listening to this podcast are going to be embracing this kind of stuff.
For sure.
That's all I think we got today, unless you've got anything else.
That's it.
All right, we'll wrap up. Thanks for listening to the Nerdy Agent Podcast, and always remember, be better.